Malebo Sephodi is a Johannesburg-based activist, blogger and author of a debut non-fiction book titled Misbehave. Now, it's a raw and personal conversation starter that hammers cracks into issues surrounding feminism and how society still puts women in a box that defines how they must behave. She has since assumed a role in giving black women a platform that allows them freedom to just be themselves without any judgment. This is through an initiative she founded, and she's called it Lady Leader. Malebo joins us now in studio to chat to us more about her fascinating book. Welcome.
Hi, Pearl. Thank you.
Malebo, I must say that your work reminds me of the work of a Ghanaian psychoanalyst called Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, because it's almost like a dedication to women, and yet everybody should read it. What spurred it on?
Yeah, well, when you say it's a dedication to women, when I was writing it, I had black women in mind, and it's quite fascinating that everybody reads it and comes back to me with feedback that I didn't expect. What spurred it on was, all my life growing up, I've always felt like I've had spokespeople, you know, people who tell me what to do, who to become, how to behave. And they kind of, when people rear you as a woman, you know that word rear, they have a certain outcome in mind. And I was tired of that. I wanted to be who I wanted to be. And so when my publisher approached me to write the book, and she asked me, what book do you want to write about? I said, I'd actually like to write about being a black woman in South Africa and the things that we grapple with the most in terms of coming to a place where you are self-determined, where you want to be who you want to be.
Tell us about that box. Which box do you feel that you were almost or predetermined to be placed in, and how did you sort of break out of that?
Well, I have a very Christian background, very conservative background from the church, and that box always puts you in a place where, as a woman, you have to desire to be a wife, number one. As a woman, your place is in the kitchen. As a woman, you have to be married at a certain time and have children at a certain place. Don't be too educated, don't be too loud, dress in a certain manner, speak in a certain manner. And it's boxes that I've never understood. For example, in the book, I do talk about what happens when you don't want to get married. What happens when you don't want to have children? Do you have a say in that? Because when you go to family events, the first thing that people ask you, listen, you can invent rocket fuel. Nobody cares about that. The first thing they always ask you is,
yes.
And for me, I was like, okay, can we take a pause a little bit and ask ourselves, why are we normalizing these things? Why is it so normal that society already believes that a woman needs to be a certain way without her input?
And what about if you don't like Barbie dolls, but you love motorcycles, like you wrote about in your book?
Yes. So my first chapter, I talk about what it is to misbehave. So as you can see, the title of the book is Misbehave. And the reason why I titled that is because I came across a quote by a historian, Laurel Thatcher Ulrich, who said, well-behaved women seldom make history. So if you ask yourself, well-behaved women seldom make history, then who makes history? Misbehaving women.
Madonna,
you know,
and the likes.
Yeah, people who, and misbehaving doesn't necessarily mean, you know, it just means living your life outside of the box. Misbehaving
Playing
means,
outside those lines.
It's painting outside those lines. Misbehaving means doing stuff that people didn't expect. Doing stuff for yourself, fighting patriarchy. So we've normalized patriarchy. We've normalized so many things that can be so oppressive. And when you stand up against them, people can't deal with it because it's not normal, you know? So for me, misbehaving is actually living outside of those lines. And that's why I start off with the chapter on me as a black woman's body on a motorcycle, and how that meant for me when you see a black woman riding, how they treated me in the biking community, and also how the public treated me. So I explain the concept of misbehavior through my body, using it as an experience, because I want to show, so the important thing for me in the book was to show difficult concept, writing about feminism and all of that, using my life experiences.
Now, very quickly, Malebo, you spoke about being sexually violated in your book.
Yeah.
What do you hope that readers will walk away with from your experiences that you've shared?
Well, chapter 3 is the Dear Black Man chapter, which I think is the most important chapter at the moment,
and relevant,
dealing with violent masculinities. So I deal with my journey with violent masculinities because I was sexually violated, and I've worked with women who've been abused. One of the incidences I mentioned in the book is about a lesbian woman who was murdered and raped and then murdered, and then how I went into the correctional facilities to work with some of the most notorious inmates. And so I speak about what's wrong in society and then how men can begin to think about violent masculinities. I problematize this whole not all men and not in my name. And I wrote about it not knowing that this was going to happen, at the not all men and the not in my name was the phenomenon was going to happen. So I actually have a conversation with women about that, but men can really benefit from reading chapter 3.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Misbehave is Malebo Sephodi's offering, and of course she's an activist and a writer talking to us about her book that really is a dedication to women. So make sure that you grab yourself a copy and learn all about her journey as a black woman.